Hi everybody, it's Stewart A. Swerdlow and I am back for expansions.com for our news podcast for this last week in November 2013, almost Thanksgiving.
And I'm Janet Diane Moria Swerdlow, in case you hadn't figured that one out, and we're glad to have
Can't
you
tell
back.
us apart, I'm the pretty one.
And we're glad to have you back because I told stories that would have been so good to have your reactions.
They're all about sex and breasts and things like that, right?
No.
No? Oh. Well,
Your turn.
all right, well...
Mr. Foot in Mouth.
I
have something foot in mouth, my very last story, so keep that in mind.
My foot goes in a lot of places.
Well, we don't want to discuss that publicly, my dear.
I know, it's very hard sometimes anatomically, but I can show people in another podcast.
Yeah, or in our January class.
Oh yeah, that's an invitation, incitement for you to come to where I can put my feet.
Was that incitement like in I-N-C-I-T-E incitement or N-I-N?
You know,
S-I-G-H-T.
people, I have a bit of a head cold today, so it's either that or Janet is slowly poisoning me since I got home, so I'm not sure what it is.
But you have a record of it regardless.
Yeah, in fact, I just read today that there were some celebrity deaths that they're looking at. One of them that they said, I forgot her name, she died of pneumonia and overdose of drugs or something.
Bridget Murphy.
Yes, Bridget Murphy. And then her father had her hair tested and they said there was heavy metals and he thinks that she was poisoned. So maybe I should look into that.
Yeah, but remember, I saw that, but wasn't there somebody who had mysterious death like, many years ago that then came back and haunted people? It was like that name, Bridget Murphy or something like that.
Know. They always talk about it. Anyway, we had a very nice class in Perth, Western Australia. Hello to all of you if you're watching. It was so hot in Perth. And of course, what do I get? Eye allergies. Plus I got sunburned in my quick trip through Tahiti. So there I am in front of all these people with peeling skin, red eyes,
Well, then what they say about you is true.
Which what?
I can't say it in front of people.
What, that I'm a reptilian shapeshifter?
Yeah, and a demon, and you watch people at night in their sleep.
Yeah, because I have nothing else to do but, project myself out and watch people in their bedrooms.
But you're awake at night anyway, so I'm sure that's what you do.
Yeah, but anyway.
And we won't talk about the mind pattern that creates all this
stuff. Anyway, so I went from all that heat to the extreme cold and snow here in Michigan. So I'm not feeling too well right now. But either that or, like I said, maybe you're doing something to me. I don't know.
My lips are sealed.
Yeah. Well, maybe the autopsy report will be sealed too. I don't know. So anyway,
unless we get you cremated before we can do the autopsy.
Okay. So here, people, something happens to me, investigate. Just let them know. Put that publicly out there.
Yeah, we're going to delete this section off because obviously we don't want this to be public.
Didn't you have a relative, an ancestor who drowned her husband in a well?
He was abusive.
Right.
Hopefully you're not abusive, and then we won't have that issue.
Yeah. Anyway, we need to get to the news here. I made a quick stop in Easter Island, which is owned by Chile, and I went administered by Chile. They want independence. The island is the size of our driveway, and they want independence. Anyway. I looked at those statues, those big statues. They're called moai. There's 1,900 of them on the island. Most of them are lying face down or broken or destroyed in some way. It was a little disappointing. And anyway, the story is that these were carved out of a mountain, which is a volcano, all of them from one spot. You can still see places in the side of the mountain where they had started some and didn't finish them. And according to the story, they slid them down the side of the mountain and then kind of like moved them side by side, for long kilometers to get to their locations and then hoisted them up on platforms. I don't believe that story. They didn't have equipment. These are little people. No. This was done in another way, and I'll talk about that, I think, in one of my reports. Also, like I mentioned, I stopped in Tahiti. I was there for my birthday. It was a very lonely, sad birthday.
Your choice.
I didn't like being in Tahiti without you. You know, all those other couples and families and things like that. So it was very sad for me.
Sorry, we'll have to go there together.
So I purposely burned myself in the sun. So
self-punishment.
Yeah. And of course, then I was on to New Zealand and then to Australia. Actually, I have to say on both places, it's improved. Last time I was in New Zealand and Australia, it was very authoritative, strict, hostile kind of people. But you know what? It's changed a bit. Even last time in New Zealand, I noticed that they put like European license plate NZ like they have in the EO. This time they took them off. So they went back to the old ways, which I thought that's good. And Australia, they were very, very nice, pleasant. It was very pleasant this time. So, although it could have been with the lovely people that I was with and stayed with, I stayed with the daughter of the former foreign minister of Papua New Guinea, and he is now in the Club de Madrid, which I'd never heard of before. But
now you have.
Yeah. So I spoke with him. And very interesting, Papua New Guinea. You know, I've been searching for pterodactyls, and in Papua New Guinea they have creatures called ropens, which if you go online, look up ROPENS, Papua New Guinea, and you will see actual films of these pterodactyls flying, and they are there. Of course, one thing that the people in Papua New Guinea are proud of is that they ate a Rockefeller in the 1960s because they're still cannibals there. Yeah. So since I was staying with them, I did lock my bedroom door thinking, what if they get hungry at night? Yeah. So I mentioned it to my host and they didn't think it was too funny. Anyway, then I went on to South Korea, which, what can I say? It's Korea. What's that joke that Zachary said that Kim Jong-un, he had to give up his Korea. Yeah. That was actually fun, yeah. And then, I flew over Fukushima. You got to say that very carefully when you say
especially
Fukushima.
You, because we know how you are.
Yeah, because I'm not too focused today.
You're not too focused today.
But Fukushima, I tell you, you know what? It looks like nothing ever happened.
Well, it's interesting because of the Aradia couple. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at all their stuff they're posting on Facebook.
Aradia contacted me, and we're going to be doing some things with. It's actually a new couple because she left the guy in Moscow. She's now in Czech Republic with another guy, and they eat uranium. And I think Janet is actually going to make a cooking podcast with uranium in food.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
No.
Which is probably how you're poisoning me, and you'll probably come out with that afterwards.
I don't want that on film.
Well, I'm letting everyone know out there.
But they're saying interesting things about uranium and all that radiation. So they're saying basically it's not what people think it is. So whenever the interview comes out, it'll be some interesting stuff.
Anyway, I'm glad to be home, even though it's so freaking cold outside and snowing. But it's only November. What's it going to be like in January?
Well, we don't know.
No.
Last year it didn't snow until our January class people left.
I know.
So we don't know.
Anyway, back to you.
Back to me. All right. Well, I have some interesting stories. Your interesting stories were wonderful about your world travels, but these are about what's actually going on in the world.
Oh.
So the first thing I want to talk to you about, because here in the U.S. we're getting close for our Thanksgiving holiday. And of course, the native people call it their day of mourning. So I have a little bit of information on our Facebook page. So check that one out. But two things. First of all, I spoke to you about this the last time about the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, because Joan Jett was kicked off of the South Dakota's tourism float because she's a vegetarian.
Who is she?
Joan Jett?
I don't know.
She's a famous singer.
She is?
Yeah, I can't tell you the name of her song. I Love Rock and Roll, Blackheart's Band.
I don't listen to music.
That was a long time ago, dear. Yeah, Joan Jett.
Oh, I must have been in another dimension.
Yeah, you were still a fetus, but I happen to remember her, and I liked her songs at that time. Yeah, that much younger. Anyway, so she was kicked off of the float of South Dakota because the South Dakota is their cattlemen's association. Weren't happy that she's a vegetarian.
Right. Well, she shouldn't be.
But they put her on another float. Let's see, where am I? Oh, yeah, they put her on another float anyway, which features Carrie Underwood, Jimmy Fallon, the Radio City Rockettes, and the cast members of the reality show from Duck Dynasty. But interestingly enough, PETA, who we all know and love because of what damage they do to a lot of animals, they said that they are going to be holding a protest over a SeaWorld float. So Macy's parade is becoming a focus of animal rights. And I said this when they said, I told you, once they kick Joan Jett off, you watch. So now PETA's involved. Apparently they're protesting the SeaWorld float because they're claiming that they mistreat whales. And whales are a big thing, you know, like we talked about Iceland and all the whaling that goes on there.
Which, by the way, Iceland said there are too many whales,
right,
and they're eating all the fish, and that we have to get rid of some of them.
Right, in order to keep the ecological balance, but because most people don't know about Iceland and don't know about those things, therefore they follow what PETA is putting out there publicly. So I wanted to bring that out. And then, here we go, the Norwegian military said it's going to put its troops on a vegetarian diet once a week in a bid to fight, now get this, climate change.
How's that going to work?
Well, they're saying it's about being more concerned for our climate, more ecologically friendly, and also healthier. Now, one thing, as a former farmer, I tell people all the time, I'm a former farmer, that cattle do not use and do what they claim it is. Cattle are grown on in basically what we would call wasteland. You can't grow crops on cattle land, so to speak. So anyway, it's all a bunch of baloney, but people don't realize that because they don't know anything about farming.
And didn't they also say that the cows' flatulence are polluting the atmosphere?
Well, that's absolutely ridiculous. So anyway, they're now saying it has nothing to do with money, but it will cut its...
They've obviously never been to the Golden Corral parking lot.
Apparently. Anyway, they said that it would cut its meat consumption by 150 tons per year. So, but then they're saying it has nothing to do with money. Well, it has to do with making people weaker. And you know, the thing is, if people are going to fight, you know, why feed them well? Let's just feed them crap because they're going to get killed anyway. You know, before they send people out to the front, they already have estimations of how many people are going to be died or wounded or whatever. So these are all statistics, and they're making people think it's about health, but it's not. Plus, they're imprinting people to not eat meat. They're talking a lot about Meatless Mondays nationwide. There's actually a Norwegian environmental group who's promoting this called The Future in Our Hands.
That's why Norway is never going to be a world power.
Well, at this point, no, they're not. So that's interesting, I think.
And does that mean we have to feed our Norwegian elk hounds a vegetarian diet?
Try that and see what they have to tell you.
They would not be happy.
They would not be happy. All right, I also want to tell you now, because I like to keep you apprised, of course, of the latest fashion statements, just in case you might want it to do this.
I don't care about fashion, as people will know.
Well, sometimes you might, because this one, now they're talking about inserting sequins in people's eyes.
Ooh.
I've told you about tattoos in the eyes, and I've told you about gemstones in the eyes. Now they're doing sequins in the eyes. This only costs you $3,000.
Well, how do you put sequins in your eye?
They have a little tiny surgical insertion that they make.
On the white of your eye?
The white of the eye. They put the little sequin in, and then you can have this little sparkly factor in your eye. They claim it doesn't because it's on the white, but
no.
I personally would not want to do it.
Stewie's not going to do that.
So that's a new thing. Now this is interesting because to me this relates to your Easter Island story.
Yes.
This is that moving statue which I told you about a few weeks ago.
Right.
That was in Manchester Museum. That was a 4,000-year-old Egyptian statue that turned at night in its case.
Right.
And they even had the curator on film talking about this.
Yes, and she said it was a spirit of the...
That's what they're believing because
statue.
it's in a locked, sealed glass cabinet. The stone statue is approximately 10 inches tall or 25 centimeters. Was made approximately 1800 BC as the medium for the soul of an ancient departed, of course, Egyptian man.
Right.
So there are other statues in this case. Nothing else moves, but this has been caught on camera actually turning. So what did they do? Of course, they had to debunk this story.
Right.
So they brought in a vibrations expert.
There's a vibration.
Apparently. And he put little sensor meters around, and after conducting a variety of scientific tests, he concluded that the statue moved because of buses and football activity outside.
At night. In the daytime, the buses don't make it shake.
Well, apparently. I don't know. But now he claims because the base of the statue, it has a convex place in it, unlike the other statues, that's why this one moves and doesn't. Now, I want to extrapolate this one because we've talked about this before, and we've actually seen things, and I've had stuff on my Facebook page, and of course there's stuff on YouTube about dolls. The original intent for dolls was for people to hold the spirits and to talk through dolls. So when we think about how these big statues in Easter Island moved, it's very possible that they were inhabited, just like this doll, of other spirits, astral entities,
Well, that's
and so
interesting because
forth.
they were supposed to be made for people who had heads of clans who died, and after they died, they made a statue for them.
Yes.
So it was the same thing.
So they could come back and actually speak through it. And so, you know, all this stuff sounds really strange, but remember what we tell you about. Matter is matter. And you have to know how to manipulate the matter in order for certain things to happen. And where the Earth is located, as you've told us many times in True World History, we are in a very interdimensional zone, which allows for a lot of very strange things to happen. I hope you have watched by now our paranormal, was it called? Our paranormal DVD series? I can't remember what it was called now. But anyway, it's on the gold member section. So if you have your gold membership, which I assume you do, of course, you have seen our paranormal one, which talks about things like this. All right, moving along. Now, the newest story that's out there is that ancient humans, here's your sex story, because I know you want this one. Ancient humans had sex with a mystery species, the new DNA study shows.
I've had sex with mystery species before I met you, though.
It better have been before you met
They were
me. Anyway, I don't want to even talk about that.
I do.
I know you do, but we're not going to talk about it here. This, you have to say this for the private classes. You know, when you strip naked and show people where you put your foot.
Yeah. How did you know I meant that?
Because I can read your mind. I'm psychic. Okay, the first Neanderthal.
Actually,
and
some people say you're psycho.
They do, and I've been called that many times. The first Neanderthal and the, I have to say this right.
Denisovan.
No, Denisovan.
How do you know? Why?
The Denisovan genome sequences, they're saying now that the Neanderthals and the Denisovans had sex together. And this is why there are different types of people out there. So now they're saying that the Denisovans interbred with another extinct population that lived in Asia more than 30,000 years ago, which is neither human nor Neanderthal.
Not human.
Not human. They're saying they don't have the faintest idea of what it was.
Yeah, maybe there was that proof of the alien intervention genetically.
Well, I think they're laying this out and getting people ready for that, because they said that perhaps it lived on Asia, but they don't know, so they're still investigating that. Now, this is also interesting because this comes on the heels of this story, saying that there's DNA testing on 24,000-year-old skeleton, which is actually of a 4-year-old boy. They have sequenced his genomes, the oldest to date, and they're saying that he has no similarities with populations in East Asia, even though he was found in Siberia in the 1920s. So now they're saying that these bones are thought to contain a third of Native American ancestry's gene pool, because they don't know where the Native Americans come from. So now they're saying,
if they read my books, they'll know.
Now they're taking what they find in Siberia and tying that to the Native American population in North America. So they're bringing these gene pools together.
Well, that's what they did in Iceland. They found out they have American Native
That's
DNA.
right. So they're saying now that the migration of the Siberian inhabitants are different than what they originally thought.
Well, duh.
So now again, here we find they're changing history, and they're setting up history to be changed. So all this is interesting, and your book is almost, I don't know if I've had a chance to tell you, your book is almost completed in the layout. Your new book, True World History Humanity Saga, which is in process. Right now we're working on the index and finishing up the cover.
Yeah, but I didn't put in all the information I found on this last trip.
So you're going to have to start a new book, or do a new seminar, or start a new DVD series. Okay, now we also have in the Canadian Arctic, they caught a mysterious monster fish.
I love mysterious monsters.
It's only the second one that they've ever caught. And this is, they're claiming it's a cross, or it looks like, I'll say. It looks like a mix between a stingray and a shark. And they're calling it a long-nosed
chimera.
Chimera. Now, what is a
chimera? That's not a name. Chimera just means it's a cross species.
Right, so isn't it interesting that that's what they're calling it? Because, again, this is setting us up for other things that we're going to be, that are going to be cross species. Okay, so they're saying if they go deeper, they might find more of them. They don't know. So again,
Well, what part of Canada was that?
oh, this is the Canadian Arctic. That's all my article said.
Northwest?
Davis Strait.
Oh, okay.
In Canada's northernmost territory. And what makes this interesting, again, they're telling you they don't know what's under the sea, which lends itself to tell you more things that are under the sea.
Well, supposedly, we know more about what's in space than we do than what's
That's
under
what
the
they're
ocean.
claiming. So they're opening up things for going deeper inside the Earth mantle. You weren't here last time. I talked about the hollow Earth theory again. So lots of stuff going on out there that people didn't know about until now. All right, now this I find extremely interesting. The Texas Board of Education is voting to drop the Algebra 2 mandate from high school graduation. So right now they have to go through Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2 in high school. They're going to drop this because they're saying, no, if you're going to go into humanities, why do you need this? And of course, people were talking about dumbing down the population. Well, this is part of it. Because what's interesting to me is, I don't know about you, but I'm learning about a lot of things, obviously. But now in college they have a STEM course, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. And according to a lot of the information I'm reading, is that you can graduate in a STEM course with an undergraduate degree and make as much money with a bachelor's degree in these programs as you can with a PhD in other programs. So why are they now taking out the STEM courses? I'll tell you why.
They want people to be dumb.
That's right, because then this is a way of separating the classes. I already told you what people learn in private schools, and then the elite private school is much different than what they're teaching in public school, because public school they're educating them to be factory workers, and in the very elite where people pay a lot of money, who are like committee of 300 people and so forth, those are the ones that are getting the questions about what would it be like to be prime minister, what would you do if you were in this situation. The politics is different, the economics is different, the whole structure is different, but you don't know that because most of you out there probably don't in that income bracket to be able to afford, $50,000-$60,000 a year in a private, elementary school for your child, especially if you've got more than one child. So anyway, watch for more. I've been telling you that they were going to take out cursive, which they did. Now they're taking out the math requirements, and if you don't like math, you're going to be jumping for joy, but this is not a good thing overall for humanity. But it's good for those who are controlling the population. Now this is the one for you, because you can get your stinky cheese face ready, because this is about stinky cheese. We have scientists, Christina Agapakis,
yeah.
and scent expert Cecil Tolas gathered bacteria for their project called Self-Made.
Okay, they need to get a life.
They do, but this is their life apparently. They made a total of 11 cheeses created for an exhibition in Dublin, and each cheese was started from starter cultures sampled from human skin. The samples came from armpits, a foot, speaking of foot in the mouth, and a belly button.
Who the hell would eat that?
She says she's making cheese directly from the microbes on the body. So they want to highlight bacterial connections as well as to question and potentially expand the role of both odors and microbes in our lives.
She needs to get medication.
Okay, well, I'm just telling you what's going on out there, because this is still bordering on cannibalism.
That's just mentally ill.
And this is what I've been telling you about. These things happen, and they're bringing in a lot of different foods because it represents the foods they're helping you or shoving into, and you're accepting into the mind pattern.
Looks like I'll be losing a lot of weight in the future,
Well,
because I'm not eating bugs, I'm not eating cheese from armpits, and I'm not eating any of the other stuff that you mentioned.
So anyway, I just want to bring forward what's happening with humanity, because it's not a pretty picture.
It's sad. It's really sad,
It is.
Humanity. What's the matter with you, humanity?
So I hope, again, you have a membership on our site, because we're teaching you how to be into your pure, true frequency versus all this other stuff that they're putting out, and people are going, oh, isn't this wonderful, isn't this fun, and they're doing it, so stop it.
I'm going to suggest that woman meet with the Aradia couple, and she needs some uranium.
Maybe, I don't know. Okay, I want to remind people that this coming Tuesday, November 26th, you're going to be on Coast to Coast.
I am?
You are, so please.
That means I have to stay up late.
You're very late. So you're going to have to share this with your friends, because it's been 5 years since he's been on this show. Yeah. And this is a good way to increase our audience and let other people know about hyperspace oversoul work, which is extremely important at this time. Okay. And Not only that, but in January, if you have not signed up for our January class, it is a very small, eclectic group of people. We are probably about a half full with a couple people deciding, bordering on like 3/4 full. If you want the January class, it is a week-long class. It is extremely intensive. We can start you in the very basics so that you know exactly what our basics are, moving you forward to intermediate. Some people may be a little bit advanced, because we want to give you that start that you need for 2014 and everything else that's coming down the pike. We do have payment plans, so you want to talk to Patricia about that, customer support at expansions.com. We are also opening up our Oversoul Mastermind group for 2014 applications, and again, this is a very small group of people. It is our think tank of people that come together who are very, very interested, and we meet once a month via our webinar series and twice a year in person, and these people have our emails and they have our ears, and we work with them one-on-one all through the year, but it is also a very small group of people. So again, talk to Patricia, customer support at expansions.com if you have interest in joining that, because we do have requirements and you want to meet those requirements. Anything else coming up?
Well, just the Thanksgiving holiday,
Yeah.
which is we call it Indian Massacre Day.
No, their day of mourning.
So, think about that while you're eating your feast.
Yeah, but do be grateful for what you have, and regardless of what underlies it, everything is, you can make it what it is. So
You can really make it a Thanksgiving for your own reasons.
That's right. So be thankful for what you have in life, for the people in your life, the people that you love, and also be thankful that your eyes are open and aware so that we can hopefully not have these kind of massacres. I believe I posted it on the Facebook page that the American indigenous people are saying that about 200 million Native Americans, First Peoples, were murdered by the Europeans when they came here.
Including in the Caribbean. Remember, Columbus Day was also Indian Massacre Day.
So a lot of massacres of indigenous people. So we want to have the mind patterns, that we don't have victim mentality, we don't add to that so it can never happen again. But
it is happening,
It is happening, but we want to change that one person at a time. So you're that one person out there, you can make a difference. Don't ever feel like you can't do anything. You can do amazing things with your mind and ripple it out. Look at Stewart and I. I'm one person, he's one person. We're rippling out without the two of us.
My nose is rippling out because I got a head cold.
Okay, well, we better go fast then, so, because I've got to get you some chicken soup made.
Yeah,
right?
well, so I asked you like hours ago,
No,
and you haven't done it.
It was like 30 minutes ago, just before we started.
Yeah, you said, I have to whip up a batch of poison. I mean, soup first.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. We're done?
I guess I am.
Well, are you or aren't you?
I am. Well, that depends how much poison you put in my soup.
I haven't made the soup yet, but now I'll have to be calculating exactly what my ingredients are.
The whole world's going to know if something happens to me.
Depending on your attitude.
I have a very bad attitude, as everybody knows.
All right, so if that's the case, the nose knows.
Yes. Well, anyway, I will see you next time, people.
Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.